What's going on, everyone? F1 Pit Stop here, and today I'm very much looking forward to this video. We're going to be talking about what watch sponsors, or should I say what watch brands, sponsor the Formula One teams for this upcoming 2023 season. Now, watches are a passion of mine, Formula One is a passion of mine, so I figured why not combine the two? You know, timepiece makers have been a huge part of Formula One going throughout racing history, and so I figured this is the perfect chance to combine the two, share it to you. If you're finding this channel from usually watching watch content on YouTube, this is a Formula One channel, so thanks for watching, and if you're interested in anything Formula One, please consider subscribing. It would mean the world. Now let's get into what watches these drivers will be wearing throughout the 2023 season. We're going to start tame, and by the end, these watches are going to get pretty insane. So first, we're going to talk about Williams. Yeah, we're going to start off with Williams, and they're sponsored by Bremont watches. They were started in 2002, made in England, as you can see on a lot of their models. And right when you go to the bottom of their page, you can see, well, there he is, Alex Albon, right? I believe Bremont and Williams first partnered together last year for the 2022 season. You can see that these watches have beautiful finishing on the movements. And even here, if you go to watches, you can see that there's heavy inspiration from pilots' watches to dive watches. And then here, it gets interesting. You have your motorsport, and you can see from Williams F1, then they talk about Jaguar and Norton, but you can see here that the WR Williams Racing 22 watches are a collaboration with Williams Racing and Bremont. I think there's some pretty snazzy looking watches. Mechanical chronographs, you can see the Williams Racing on the rotor on the back. From what I've seen from Bremont so far, they know how to make watches, and I think that the British racing team and the British watch company have a great partnership here. And let me just say this right off the bat, there are two teams going into this next season who don't have any watch sponsors, and that's going to be AlphaTauri and Haas. I know Haas had sponsors previously, so I'm not exactly sure what happened there. Probably lack of results, but they no longer have a watch sponsor for the 2023 season. Not sure if AlphaTauri ever did, but they definitely don't this 2023 season. Moving on to the next team, we have Aston Martin, and Aston Martin has partnered with Girard-Perregaux, sorry for anyone who says I'm pronouncing that wrong, which is the oldest brand that we'll see out of this list, started in 1971. Yes, all the way from 1971. Girard-Perregaux and Aston Martin have teamed up. They have their own signature watch, and this is cool. Girard-Perregaux has been a luxury Swiss watchmaker from the beginning. You can see here, this is their Aston Martin watch. Absolutely beautiful chronograph, and it's a perfect fit because this watch has that green, that Aston Martin green, that when Stroll first came and not started Aston Martin racing, but took it over and brought the deal together, implemented in the car. That just looks beautiful. It seems like they have three watches together, and you can see that they're not cheap at all. You have almost $28,000, $21,500, and then $160,000 for the Tourbillon Aston Martin edition. Now, I'm not sure what about this watch screams Aston Martin racing, but regardless, it's unique, it's exotic, which is what you would say about an F1 car. So in that sense, I guess good job for that combo. I'm kind of shocked that a newer racing team like Aston Martin would have something so historic as a watch partner like Girard-Perregaux. You know, props to them for landing such a major watch brand. And I could see how this would really entice more people into the brand. You know, you got to have the price tag to go with it and the fat wallet, but this is a great partnership, and I think they make some absolutely great watches together. Now, Alfa Romeo technically does not have a title watch sponsor that sponsors their racing brand as a whole. However, shout out to Valtteri Bottas, their new driver, who was able to get a collaboration with, and I know I'm going to butcher this name, Sapravino Watches. He's a watchmaker who is Finnish and makes one hell of a watch. So he and Valtteri were able to create this watch. I mean, the craftsmanship on this, it's limited to 17 pieces. I mean, this guy makes some wild watches, and I think in the best way possible. Look at this design, the owl, the face on the moon, which seems to be in a lot of the watches. You could tell that he's an artisan, and this watch that him and Valtteri have created, I think, is just perfect for them. I'm sure that the 17 pieces have sold out, and I guarantee it comes with a hefty price tag, but I think this watch is perfect. I think that a driver on his own supporting the Finnish watchmaking industry, which I'm sure is not the biggest thing in the world. Being able to collaborate, produce a watch like this with this level of artistry is incredible, and I think that's great. Very happy for Valtteri. Now we're going to move to Alpine, who is partnered with Bell and Ross. They've been with Bell and Ross for a little bit now. Bell and Ross was started in 1992, and as soon as you go onto their website, you can see that they have some funky watches, definitely known for the square watch. Obviously, they didn't create that design, but they definitely utilize that in a ton of their watch designs. I'd say that this is the typical Bell and Ross design that you're going to see them put out. It's not for everyone. Personally, it's not for me. Who am I to say, especially if you like it? Now, they don't have any direct Alpine times, with Bell and Ross collaborations. However, whenever you see an interview with these drivers, they will be wearing the Bell and Ross watches. Now we're going to go to both Ferrari and McLaren. Both are sponsored by the same watch brand, probably, was throughout the pandemic and still is the hottest watch on the market, I think. I mean, Ferrari and McLaren are both sponsored by Richard Mille, having some insane watches, probably across the collection, having the highest price tag, where watches will retail for millions of dollars. When you see a Richard Mille, you will know that it is one based off the skeleton dial and kind of extreme looking pieces. I think it's such a sleek, cool looking watch. However, you sure as hell have to have the budget for it. Now in 2018, McLaren and Richard Mille came out with their very first collaborative watch, and you can see here it is a sleek looking watch. You'll see Lando Norris wearing this all the time. It's a wild looking timepiece, heavily involved with the orange, as it should be. Chronograph movement, skeletonized movement and dial. So this is something, when you look at the driver's wrist, you will know 110% that watch is a Richard Mille. And I think them sponsoring teams like Ferrari and McLaren, which now have younger drivers, is perfect, as Richard Mille's trying to be the kind of edgy, different looking, extreme watchmaker in this luxury Swiss old-timey watch world. Now Ferrari and Richard Mille also have collaboration watches. They actually have more than one. So they have one that looks sort of like the McLaren one, except obviously it's red, McLaren orange, Ferrari red. That goes without saying. However, they also have a watch that they came out with very, very recently that broke the record for the world's flattest mechanical watch. I believe that's the official record. However, it's ugly as hell. Okay, no matter what you think about Richard Mille watches, this watch is flat just for the sake of being flat. It beat out the Bulgari Octo Finissimo, I believe, as the flattest watch. However, that one does it in style. This one just does it just because. I mean, you just have a bracelet basically on your wrist slapped with a Ferrari logo. If you like it, you like it. Sure, I don't get it. I think that Richard Mille should stick with the design that it's classically known for, and kind of creating this ugly watch just to break a record. Come on, guys. Now we're going to look at Mercedes. Mercedes has been sponsored by IWC watches for a while now. IWC was started in 1868, so definitely a lot of heritage there as a watchmaker. Personally, out of any watches that we see on the list, if I had to choose to be sponsored by one of them, it'd either be Richard Mille or IWC. I think that these watches are absolutely beautiful. They've been partnered with Mercedes since, I want to say, 2013, heavily influenced by the Pilot watches. And talk about in 2013, IWC kind of slapping their name on a Formula One team that would go on to be one of the greatest in recent times. And you can see here that Mercedes and IWC have their own collaboration watch here. I don't know if I'm wearing it out in public, but if I just finished a Formula One race, I'm slapping this on the wrist and it's looking badass, as you'll see Lewis Hamilton and Toto wearing throughout the season. They definitely did last season. I think it's an absolutely beautiful watch. Definitely, I think IWC and Mercedes is a perfect partnership. IWC is known for making its Pilot watches, and, driving a Formula One car is not quite like flying a plane, but it's the closest thing on land. Then, ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, we'll take last year's Drivers' Championship and Constructors' Championship team Red Bull Racing. They have been and are currently sponsored by Tag Heuer watches. Started in 1860, so a lot of history there, and definitely a lot of history in the racing category as a whole. They have an entire collection called the Tag Heuer Formula One. See here, they proudly say that, they sponsor Red Bull, as why not be advertising that all over the place. So the Tag Heuer Formula One watch here, Times Red Bull Racing, you have a specialty collaboration. Sports chronograph movement, I think it's a really, really cool piece. I think it's a perfect collaboration for Red Bull. Obviously, you have the Red Bull colors there that never ever change, so there's no reason to ever update this watch. But then going back into motorsport's history, Tag Heuer is probably known most for its model, the Monaco, which I believe was one of the first square watches and definitely made this look famous. You can see here they have a partnership also with Gulf, which has been a sponsor in Formula One for a long time, and they just sponsored Williams, actually. But you can see Max Verstappen rocking the Monaco almost every single interview he's in. He's always wearing the Tag Heuer Monaco, which I think is a great watch, and personally I think would be incredible to own one day. So there you have it. Those are some of the watches and the watch brands that will be sponsoring the Formula One teams in the 2023 season. Really appreciate your watching. Again, if you enjoyed the video, consider hitting the subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you next time.